Wow, thank you, everybody. International news, huh? Yeah. Speaking of bombing Muslim majority countries without congressional approval, this one's a little hot off the presses. Last night, the U.S. bombed Syria. The U.S. bombed Syria in retaliation against Iran for the death of U.S. soldiers in Jordan. It seems like the U.S. handles the Middle East the same way I play GeoGuessr a little bit. If it's within 500 kilometers, that counts, baby. That's it. That's dead on. The U.S. said they bombed Syria with targeted strikes. And then people are like, so who did you target? And they were like, fucking Syrians, man. Dead on. Only dead civilian Syrians. We didn't miss it in Bolivia. We're state-of-the-art precision targeting. No, they said they were bombing command centers in Syria. That's what the U.S., Israel, Western, they love bombing command centers. If you're in the Middle East right now, stay the fuck away from a command center. Apparently, the U.S. reported they bombed over 85 command centers in Syria. 85. It's mostly command centers out there, apparently. Over here, I'm like, they're putting the Starbucks on every block. In Syria, they're like, we keep closing local businesses and putting command centers on. There's 85 command centers. Syria's about like the size of Illinois, and there's 70 Culvers in Illinois. It's all command centers. It's like StarCraft out there. We bombed Syria. We also bombed Iraq. And the worst and grossest part for me was I didn't realize we weren't already bombing over there. The U.S. bombs so many countries. It's like trivia now. I was doing like a crossword the other day, and the clue was this is a country that the U.S. is in active military conflict with, and it was 7 letters. So I was like, okay, it's not Iran or Iraq. Those are 4 letters. It's not Syria. That's 5 letters. And 7 letters, that doesn't sound like an Afghanistan number of letters to me. Oh, just start writing Afghanistan in. You don't know how many letters are in it. It might be 7. Just let it stop us. We don't have to be negative. It might fit. It's not. It was Somalia. The answer was Somalia. You guys know that? They're at war with... For a second I was like, is this how we declare war on Somalia? That their prime minister, they look at the mini today. It's bad. I didn't know where we're at war with nowadays, because we don't really declare war anymore. We used to declare war. We'd like blow a horn or something. We make an announcement. But now we just kind of like send troops to countries. Then we like airstrike a couple command centers. And they were like, you get it, right? We kind of have like a situationship with war nowadays. Right, it's not the labels that matters, it's the actions, baby. If it feels like war, then it's war, okay? We hate saying that we're at war with a country. We were never at war with Afghanistan. We were on a war with terror. We were on a war with the Taliban. Israel is in a war with Palestine. They're in a war against Hamas. You shouldn't be allowed to declare war on not a country. Russia can't be like, we're declaring war on Kroger and anything in its subsidiaries. That includes Mariano's, Fred Meyer's. Trader goes, you're fine. Just, we also don't really end wars anymore. We used to like sign treaties and stuff, like the Treaty of Versailles for World War I. We just kind of pull out of a place. I don't even know what a treaty would look like nowadays. Like when Biden pulled out of Afghanistan, he's like going to the Taliban and being like, I'm sending you a PDF of the treaty. You should receive an email from DocuSign in a couple. I had trouble signing. I use a website called freepdfeditor.com. Yeah, the reality is wars, they don't end anymore. I mean, we bombed Syria last night, but we've been bombing the Middle East for 20 years now. Thank you. Any other corrections? Just shout it out. The Russian invasion of Ukraine is 2 years as of a couple of days from now. The Israel invasion of Palestine has now been several months, and if I were to hazard a guess, it's not going to stop soon.
40 years.
The realization I had is these governments, I don't think they want the wars to end. Because if you win the war, you're supposed to stop bombing them. I don't think the U.S. ever wanted to win the war on terror. I don't think Russia are unhappy with the status quo in Ukraine. I don't think Israel wanted to eradicate Hamas. So that the war goes on forever, you're allowed to keep bombing them forever. And I think there's a lot of reasons for these eternal wars. I mean, some people will think it's like there's oil there. Some people think it's like to fund the military-industrial complex. And I think that these are all partly true. But I'm sorry, Rex, I think Americans like war. I think that's the bottom line. Because this week, the Chicago City Council passed a resolution calling for a ceasefire. Coincidentally, the Gaza City Council passed a resolution saying, fix the potholes in Western. So, we're all growing out here. But anyway, the ceasefire resolution passed. But what struck me that it was a tie vote. 23 aldermen voted against a ceasefire. I think we really do love airstrikes in this country. And the difference is between like this and say like the Vietnam War, which went on for a long time, is now Americans don't have to get hurt anymore. We can get our war and no one gets hurt. During the Vietnam War, families were ripped apart and they protested until the war ended. But now with our airstrikes, we can do war from home. Back then, war used to look like Apocalypse Now. Now just some guy wearing sweatpants in his house clicking a red button when the AI tells him to. Biden's found a way to have a perpetual war where Americans don't get hurt, and now no one will force him to end it. That's like a weird fact. No one in our military is on the battlefield right now. Everybody know who joined the military? They aren't in the Middle East. They're like surfing in Japan or something. Growing up, like the army recruitment ads people were all showing was like people in camo crawling through the desert. Have you seen an ad for the army nowadays? It's just like a scrawny guy doing electrical engineering. Being like, join the army if you're brave enough to do a Fourier transform. Every recruitment ad, it's like virtuously indistinguishable from like an ad from the University of Phoenix Technical Accreditation Program. I'm closing this. This show, Pear Machete, started 14 years ago. And I think this essay would have worked word for word back then. And hopefully the show will go on 14 more years. And Chris Pine will look exactly the same. And people will still yell at you for being in the aisle, even though there's no room. But I do hope this will stop working 14 years from now. And if not, then I'll write a better ending for this essay. Okay, thanks everybody.
Live, that guy's name. Give it over to Tio. Is that great? Let's go, man.